tight the margin is. Right now, they are savoring a win after an evening of tremendous anxiety. Now, what these people are waiting for, of course, is the entrance, and it should be quite soon, of the No campaign leader, Daniel Johnson. And we'll get back to you just as soon as he comes here. Back to you, Bill and Mitsumi.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. And I guess a very different atmosphere down at Yes headquarters with Barry at Palais des Congrès. Barry?
Well, Mitsumi, there's an incredible amount of grief in the room. Nobody believed that this would happen. They thought that they had enough, that they could perhaps just go over the top, and maybe these results could have been reversed. And when they announced that indeed the no side had won, there was stunned disbelief in the room here. There's a lot of people crying, a lot of people hugging. It's quite an emotional scene. For many of these people, this was the last chance for sovereignty, but then others are saying, well, now this is indeed the last chance for Canada. A lot of questions, of course, will have to be asked. What happens to Jacques Parizeau now? Can he continue as premier? His big mandate was sovereignty of Quebec. Can he continue now to act as premier of Quebec for the next 3 or 4 years? What happens to Lucien Bouchard? Bouchard has said during the campaign that after the vote, he would have a very personal decision to make. Some people think that Bouchard might come to Quebec City to take over the reins of the Parti Québécois. Others just aren't so sure. So in the aftermath of this very, very confusing result tonight, a lot of questions will be asked. And like I said, here at the Palais de Congrès in downtown Montreal, there's a lot of very unhappy people.
Thank you, Barry. It seemed an almost angry Mario Dumont, head of the Action Démocratique, whom we watched just a short while ago. Stéphane Giroux is at Action headquarters. Stéphane, what's the mood there?
You're right, Mario Dumont was extremely angry. He said that one thing about this vote is that it showed that the majority of Quebec regions were in favor of sovereignty. He also said that with this kind of result, the federal can no longer avoid giving Quebec the kind of constitutional changes it wants. And if you remember well, at the beginning, that's what the Action Démocratique was all about. Go to Ottawa with a very big shopping list, the Allaire report, if you remember, of 3 years ago. So he left the room, he was very angry, he would not even speak to the media, although in a few minutes there's a chance we may get to speak to party founder Jean Allaire. Now, people here are already leaving. That's a lot of people crying. It's a very young crowd because that's what the ADQ is all about. A young upstart party, and there was a lot at stake for the ADQ for a very simple reason, is that this is a party that a year ago was willing to give Canada one last chance, but they went with Bouchard and Parizeau for this referendum. They lost it, so obviously they're very angry and they're going to have to question themselves about the future of this party. So that's it for me, so we'll speak to you a bit later.
Thank you very much, Stéphane. Now, Michelle, 98.3% of the polls reporting the people have spoken. What ultimately is the message tonight?
Well, the message at the end of this referendum is that everybody, the yes or the no, they wanted some changes in this country. The yes side, a little more drastic changes. The no side, a sweet, normal change. And that the federal government will now have to deliver the merchandise. He will have to give those changes that Quebec wants. On either side, yes or no, we want change. We want some constitutional changes, and these will have to be delivered, and the premiers of all Canada will have to be behind this and be logic with their decision to, they said they love Quebec. Well, now will be the time to prove it.
Specifically, Michelle, there was mention of manpower. You know, we've talked about the distinct society. How much of the door is open on the basis of what Chrétien was saying during the campaign?
Well, very, very few, because Chrétien didn't really open the door. He opened a crack in the door, and that's it. But all those traditional demands of Quebec in culture, in communication, in manpower, in all fields of its competence. He will have to deliver the merchandise now. He has no choice.
But Trudeau's vision of a bilingual Canada with a strong centralized government, is that gone now?
That's gone.
This is finished.
That's gone and finished, and forever, I hope so, at least, because this vision is completely defaced by faced to the reality of that we saw today, with half the province, half Quebec who wants sovereignty, and half the other half who wants some change.
You were talking about a game of musical chairs that could take place in the event that there isn't a delivery by Ottawa of some of these things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Bouchard moves into Jacques Parizeau's shoes, this kind of thing.
This political fiction.
Exactly. What do you think realistically may happen now?
Well, first of all, Mr. Parizeau will probably stick to his post of Premier of Quebec, and so as long as this decision is not taken, everything is postponed.
And I guess what a lot of our viewers are going to wonder right now is what happens to Anglophone community, English services, English schools? Is there any kind of jeopardy?
No.
Do you see?
I think it's business as usual.
Thank you very much, Michel. We're going to go to a commercial break in just a few moments. We have about a minute left. I'm wondering, there's a promise of a review of Bill 101 and possibly a review of the French language, the status of the French language. Are we liable? We have a separatist government in power to see problems of this sort for the minorities in Quebec.
And what's more
outside is Rosemary Thompson. Rosemary, what's happening now on the streets of downtown Montreal at the key location there?
Well, what's happening right now is just behind me is the Metropolis Club where the Liberals have gathered. And the police, as you can see just behind me, there's about 100 police officers that are lining up behind me. They seem to be bringing in reinforcements. They're going to be joining this crowd over here. We'll just turn around to show you. There are a number of sovereignists just over here, and they've been trying to keep them away from the club tonight. So the police are bringing in reinforcements, hoping to be able to move the crowd back, because they want to move them back, hoping that the crowd will disperse, so there will be no confrontation between the sovereignists and the federalists tonight.
Thanks. Well, Rosemary, I know that you'll be there for another few hours because obviously you have to do something for Canada AM. But at the moment it's still quiet and the police have it under control, and that's the line. The police have the situation under control at this hour in downtown Montreal. Let's have a final run through with our people at the central desk here. Jean Lapierre, it's been great having you with us tonight.
Great to be here.
You're shaking your head, but you've had all sorts of reactions to various situations during the evening. What about it all?
Well, I must say that I think it's been great and nerve-wracking also to see those numbers go. But, at the end of the evening, everybody knows that tomorrow all Quebecers have to do their monthly payments too. And so I hope we move on to the real life, and I hope people get back together. We have this reconciliation because, life is more than Constitution. So I hope we can all contribute to that. That's our responsibility as broadcasters.
Leslie?
And after saying that that he's heard Quebecers' call for change, the Prime Minister now has to take action on that. He finds himself in an incredibly tight box. Patrick Monahan, the constitutional expert who was here earlier, said, I don't know how he gets out. Maybe Roy Romano has some ideas.
Well, I'm not sure how he gets out, but I think that, for me, I think the evening's, the positive side is that we don't have, as a result of this vote, an independent, separate Quebec. The challenge is, of course, as everybody has said, the work begins tomorrow. I hope the Prime Minister asks the premiers to be involved and to listen to his views and perhaps to gain what insights we have. I think this is a time for conciliation, reconciliation, and healing, as Jean has said, to take a few days to consider all of the meaning of this evening, this momentous evening. But we have to act fairly quickly, because the goodwill which exists, if I can put it that way, outside of Quebec, and I still hope inside Quebec, notwithstanding Premier Parizeau's remarks, may dissipate. And accordingly, we're prepared, I think, to do our part in making sure that we reconstruct and reform and put this behind us a bit.
Daniel, a fast wrap-up from you?
Yeah, I think it will all come down to, can you find a way to satisfy this 10% more people who join the yes side? That's an increase of 25% among the yes camp. They want change. Not only do they want change fast, but they want real change. So these accommodation by the back door, they want to be recognized as a nation within Canada. And that's what they've been putting on the table for 25 years, and tonight they put it again there on the table. If Mr. Chrétien finds a way, and if the other premiers find a way to move this federation from a federation of 10 equal provinces plus a couple of territories to another kind of federation, maybe the federation that existed before 1982, that's the solution. If not, if you only find, slight adjustment, giving manpower to Quebec and maybe a bit more immigration, then you're doomed.
Thank you very much. Well, you've said it, a nation within a nation, as it were. Let's go over to Valerie for a final wrap-up from the panel -1, is it, Valerie?
The ever-shrinking panel.
Yes.
We're trying to keep a few for Canada AM tomorrow morning, maybe. We've heard this again just from Daniela Touche now. We've heard it all night in every speech. Quebecers want change. What change? What change is possible? What change can come?
Well, I think that the Prime Minister is going to have to sit down with his cabinet. He's going to have to sit down with the premiers and talk about the kind of changes that can come about that are in the interest not just of Quebecers, but of all Canadians. I think, though, that one of the things that all of us are going to be listening to is to listen to hear from the Quebec government, from Premier Parizeau, that there's a willingness on his part to enter those discussions
didn't sound
as well.
like that.
Because clearly the goodwill that needs to be there in English Canada, I think, is there as a consequence of this vote to try and make some changes that will improve the federation for all Canadians. There's not going to be a great deal of goodwill to do that if the door has been slammed in the face. And I think that Parizeau is going to have to make it clear, if he's going to stay as the Premier, that he's prepared to participate in a meaningful discussion about change as well. And that wasn't clear from his remarks tonight.
Preston Manning come forward with the plan now?
Well, he has, he's done that during the campaign, and I think he's going to have more to say on that. But while I think that most Canadians will go to bed relieved tonight at the outcome, I must say I'm a little bit more concerned than the tone of optimism here tonight would suggest. I think that the change that we need to face as a country is pretty undefined, and the process for getting there, I listened to Premier Romano a minute ago, and I respect his experience and judgment on these things, but I think it's very unlikely that getting the premiers together is going to be the right process or the right way to pull the political will together in this country to achieve whatever needs to be achieved here, particularly with Premier Parizeau sitting at that table. I think, when Canadians look again at the words he used tonight, there are going to be very few Canadians who are interested in a partnership with the kind of ideas that Premier Parizeau was talking about. And of course, he indicated that he wasn't interested at all either. So I think the other change that's necessary is that Quebec is going to somehow, in this situation itself, thrust up the political leadership to engage with the rest of the country. And I think it's going to be really telling whether Quebec does that or not.
It's going to have to be clear that Quebec is prepared to accept something other than another fruitless debate where they will reject whatever is discussed in terms of meaningful change and go right back to another referendum, as Premier Parizeau was suggesting. They're going to have to indicate they're willing to be part of a process of meaningful change and meaningful discussion across this country before English Canada is going to be ready to get into that in a meaningful way.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your participation tonight, and we'll head back to you now, Lloyd.
Thank you, Valerie, for a long evening and an interesting one. And, of course, we are now in the process of wrapping up our program here. The people of Quebec have spoken tonight. What have they said? Well, they have said that they're not ready yet for an independent nation, but they do want change. And there is the number that indicates all of that. 2,357,805 for the no side. That's 50.6%. Yes said 2,304,587, 49.4, and that's with 99.8% of the polls reporting. And that is the Quebec picture right up to the second. The voter turnout, very, very high, 92%, much higher than we had anticipated. And look at that compared to the 1980 referendum. That was 86%. We have said time and time again that voter turnout in Quebec is always high. No one ever expected it could get this high tonight. But one of Valerie's panel members told us early on in the evening that it was going to be a turnout of 90% even in the Magdalen Islands. So this has been an evening where Quebecers really got involved once again in the process. Now, Jean, just before you go, we have a final minute of wrap-up to say something here. When you pull all this together at this stage, what does it really mean so far as movement immediately is concerned to the people of Quebec? Are they prepared to wait How do you read the temper of the times here? Because you're one of the popular radio talk show hosts. You know what they're saying to you.
Well, frankly, I don't think tonight they're even thinking about those changes. I guess, you know, the Prime Minister has probably a few months, you know, to keep the ball, start the ball rolling, and then, you know, if they feel that he's doing an effort, I mean, I don't think they're asking for actual results in 3 months or 6 months down the road, but you know, leading to 1997, that's where it's going to be the test. I mean, 1997, because of the constitutional need for a conference, a federal provincial conference and all that, I think that's where it has to. That's where he has to deliver.
So passions will not be inflamed tonight after this long campaign, which was tough, which was nasty in some part as well.
Yeah, but only for politicians. The people got involved in the last week, and I think they've done it in a very responsible way. They're all gone back to bed, and tomorrow everybody's got to work.
And what's going to happen to Jacques Parizeau after tonight?
I wouldn't bet on him.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess some of his own members are going to be pretty mal à l'aise for tonight, and you know, Lucien Bouchard has won the campaign for them, and he's still hanging around.
Right, and Lucien Bouchard is going to be back, I believe, tomorrow morning on Parliament Hill.
That's what he says.
Right. There is what is called a 3-line whip-on for members of the Bloc Québécois, meaning that they all have to return to the House tomorrow morning.
And they all have a job tomorrow.
And they all have a job. Jean Lapierre, thanks very much for being with us. You were wonderful to work with tonight, and everybody else here as well. That's it for us. Thank you to executive producer Fiona Conway and Mike Huey, who produced all these beautiful pictures here tonight, flashing across the province and around the country. It's the end of a very long night for us, and I know a very long night for you, but Canada is still in one piece as we say goodnight from Montreal.
Like a trailer has been ignited and it's going up in flames under a "we" sign. So things are definitely turning to the worse, I would say, here, although no one has really been hurt yet.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What about arrests?
Pardon me?
What about arrests?
We've seen about 6, 7 more since the last time I was talking to you. So now about 25 people have been pulled into the paddy wagon.
All right, thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back in just a moment. Which the no side won 50.6% to 49.4% for the yes. Brian?
The Canadians play tomorrow. Marco Kiprasov was sent down. It seems kind of silly to be talking about sports matters on a sobering night, really, even though.
Sobering night indeed. Thank you. See you tomorrow.